Hi, this is Derek Tsai from learnbyblogging.com. Today I want to do a book review on How Will You Measure Your Life by Clayton Christensen. Uh, Reading this book is like studying for an MBA that can be applied to your personal life, two for the price of one. The author covers a few of the business management theories and attempted to reapply to personal life. I think he did a very good job and learned quite a few things from him. Many of the high-flying executive or corporate ladder climber seem to be good at their professional life and yet do poorly when it comes to personal life. And the author intend to bridge the gap, leveraging the management and business theories that the executives are already familiar with. The first section covers finding happiness in your career. The second section covers uh, finding happiness in your personal life. The third section is about integrity. Pretty good book. A good book that make you wonder and make you ponder and make you reflect. This is the book. It's very well structured and worth a read. I highly recommend this book. A quick summary is as follows. Summary on the section 1, it covers the finding happiness in your career. Chapter 1 is just because you have feather, and that's referring to how the human actually imitate birds when we're trying to fly. The chapter established the needs for theories. Just because the birds have feather doesn't mean that it's a reason why they can fly. That's how human evolution or our industrial evolution find out. We need to understand the theory behind it. The chapter that follows connect the theories to the life principles. Instead of following the behaviors of the past, strategy is what you want to achieve and how you will get there. In the business world, strategy is a result of what the priorities are, how the opportunities are responded, and how the resources are allocated. Chapter 2, what made us tick. This is when we find happiness, when we find ourselves unstuck in unhappy lives, it's often the result of the fundamental misunderstanding of what really motivates us. Unquote. Incentives are not the same as motivation. True motivation is get people to do something they really want to do. So two types of factors the author went through. The hygiene factor, it has to do with status and even compensation and job security and job condition. And the second factor is the motivation factors, challenging work, recognition, responsibility, and personal growth. So people are not happy when they are stuck. People are not happy when they're chased after the hygiene factors only instead of motivation factors. You need to ask yourself a different set of questions. Is this work meaningful to me? Is this job going to give me a chance to develop? Am I going to learn new things where I have opportunity for recognition and achievement? So that covers the chapter 2. Chapter 3 has to do with the balance of calculation and serendipity. The author separated the deliberate versus emergent strategy. Honda's dirt bike was one example. And you need to get out there and try yourself until you learn where your talents, your interests, and priority begins to pay off. You can flip from emergent to deliberate strategy when you find something that you really enjoy. So before taking the job, ask yourself what assumption have to be true in order for you to be happy. Okay, that's chapter 3. Chapter 4 is your strategy is not what you say it is. It's created through hundreds of everyday decisions about how you spend your time, energy, and money. And it's equivalent to the resource allocation in MBA term, short-term versus long-term investment. When you make those trade-offs. Section 2 has to do with finding happiness in your relationship. The ticking clock, chapter 5. Capital that seeks growth before profits usually is a bad capital. For example, the Motorola Iridium project. Be impatient for growth and patient for profit. And once a profitable and viable way forward has been discovered, success now depends on scaling out this model. So example would be how Honda pursued the dirt bike business accidentally rather than the original targeted motorcycle market. But when it applies to personal life, parents engage in a face-to-face conversation. It's called language dancing with their young children, will allow them to foster better verbal, vocabulary, and reading skills later in their lives. And building a fulfilling relationship is a taking from the start and needs from a nurture continuously from the start. So this is the time element of the relationship. Chapter 6, what job did you hire the milkshake for? And in this chapter, there's a lot of good example. Very long story about how the milkshake came about, how to tweak the milkshake to maximize the profit. And product can fail because the focus placed on what company wants to sell rather than what the customer really need. For example, IKEA has a very good serves to get the furnishing done in a very new place. And milkshake job is to keep away the hunger, the boredom for the commuter, as they find out in a very long story. And there's a story about the 12-minute games to have short time of sharing with your children at the end of the day when the parents are tired and they just want to spend very short time. And that is the example. Empathy, a deep understanding of what problems the customers are trying to solve. Changing your perspective to deepen your relationship and understand your role in the relationship from perspective of what job my spouse most need me to do. Okay. And that was chapter 6. Chapter 7, selling your kids on Theseus ship. There's a long story about what Theseus ship is. You can read that in the chapter. Company capability consists of 3 factors: resources, processes, and priorities. And Dell made a mistake with outsourcing its design manufacturing capability to ASUS and ended up creating new competitors. And they will and strive. So and end up 2 considerations when you are thinking about outsourcing is number 1, take a dynamic view of the supplier's capability. They will and strive to change. So don't think that's the way they are always. And number 2 is figure out what capability you will need to succeed in the future. They must stay, those things need to stay in-house. So we can apply the same capability model, resources, financial and material that he or she should be given. So this applies to a personal model in the family, applies to your kids. We need to apply the same capability model. The resources, the financial materials have been given, processes are the way that he or she thinks, asks questions, solve problems, and working with others. And number 3 is priority. So these 3 things can be applied to how you raise your children as well, to help engage what our children will need to be able to do. So apply the same principle there. The greatest gift sometimes we can give to our children maybe what we didn't do for them. A very important concept here. Children will learn when they're ready to learn, and they need to be deeply challenged, and you don't want to outsource that teaching, that learning for others to help them. Okay, and then chapter 8, the spool of experience. The right stuff is about how they're honing the experience, dealing with setbacks, extreme stresses in the high-stakes situation, such as appendicic management failures, and Nolan Archibald's deliberate career path for better experience to be a CEO at Black & Decker's. As and when they apply to personal life as parents, we need to subject our children to the school experience and allow them to cope and fail when the stakes are still small. Okay. On chapter 9, invisible hand inside your family. So this is about family culture. Build a family culture like a company culture, and it becomes an informal but powerful set of guidelines about how your family behaves. And it's not about controlling bad behaviors, it's about celebrating the good behaviors. Okay. On section 3 is staying out of jail, the title of which, and basically is about integrity. So chapter 10 is titled Just This Once. So there's a trap of marginal thinking. So this is a very interesting chapter, and I think it's really hit home for me. The trap of marginal thinking. And this example is the blockbusters losing the war to Netflix, and the new court decision against building the mini mills, because the marginal cost is always going to be lower than the full cost. And when there are a lot of time you have to pay the full cost. As an example we're given, when applied to making the right and wrong decision, living in the life integrity, the marginal cost of just this once always seems very negligible. Just a little bit, stealing the candy is not worth that much. The marginal cost is very small, but the full costs typically are higher. If you, for example, Enron, and then Nick Neeson is the 26-year-old trader who brought down the entire bank in 1995. So good advice is the only way to avoid consequences of uncomfortable moral concession in your life is never start making them in the first place. And the epilogue, have a purpose in your life, 3 parts. Likeness, to have purpose in your life, you have 3 parts. Likeness, which is what is built when they reach the critical milestone in your journey. And number 2 is to keep commitment, a deep commitment. Number 3 is one or a few metrics to calibrate their work, keeping them moving together in a coherent way. So how you measure your life, and that's number 3, is the essence of this book. I hope you enjoyed this review. Thanks for listening to watching the video. You can visit me at learnmyblogging.com or this YouTube channel. Thank you.